Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm continuing my Stephen King series, which I know I've been kind of dormant on it for a long time, but I've been reading his, I believe to be his longest book in his entire career, The Stand. We are Telltale Books, bringing you the best in literature, literary topics, and graphic design and bookmaking.
If you want to support us, you can find us on Etsy and Pango, where you can find gently used, rare, and even top quality used books.
And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and maybe even that bell to be notified when new videos go live.
Thanks for joining us.
The Stand, as I said, I believe this to be Stephen King's longest book to date, and so probably the longest book of his career. And it is number 51 in my Stephen King bibliography. The quick rundown of what the novel is and what I thought of it. Emily did not want to read this with me because of the size. Quick rundown though, it is about the world, at least the United States. There's not much said about the rest of the world, though it's assumed that it's happened worldwide, but the story takes place entirely in the USA. And the US in, I believe it's 1991, is hit by a pandemic. A virus which wipes out most of the people. But there are a very small number of survivors. But of course, with most of the population gone, most of our civilization is no longer functioning. Power plants are shut off, water treatment plants are shut off, stores are not getting distribution, manufacturers are not operating, everything comes to a complete stop. But there are some people, a very small number of people, never is said exactly how many, probably maybe 1% of the population that is immune to this virus that is generally labeled Captain Trips. So you have this handful of survivors, they find each other, and they all start having these dreams. And the dreams mostly involve two survivors, one of which, Randall Flagg, is generally called the Walking Man or Walking Dude or the Dark Man because he is quite evil. He wants to destroy everything. He has zero empathy for anybody. He just wants to go out and destroy. And the other one is an old woman over 100 years old. She is very much Christian. And she is a really good woman. And the dreams prompt the survivors to find one or the other of these people and go to where they are. Flagg is in Las Vegas. The old woman, she is somewhere in the Midwest but wants to travel to Boulder, Colorado. Why that's chosen, I don't know. But anyway, that sets up the story, and I'll go into more detail for those of you that want to stick with a longer video. So to give a very brief summary of what I think of it and whether or not I recommend it, this is definitely a top tale. This is, I don't know yet if I like this better than other Stephen King books that I love. I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I think The Shining or The Stand is the better novel. But this is definitely, The Shining and The Stand are the two novels that I like the best by Stephen King so far. This is, like I say, it's a top tale. I think this is a classic. I don't think I really have to say much about that. It's been decided by lots of other people than me that this novel is incredible and it is a classic, and lots of people love this novel. And so for me to come on and say, well, I think it's a classic, you don't need me to tell you that. It's already a foregone conclusion that this book is one of the best books in American literature. So to get deeper into it, you have this situation. The virus was created at a lab. I believe it was in California or Nevada, at a government facility, a government research facility, researching bacteriological weapons. And they developed this virus for that purpose, but the facility had fail safes that if this thing did escape, that the place would be locked down and nobody could escape and the virus couldn't get out into the world. But it wasn't perfect. One guy beats out the door before everything can be locked. The locks took too long to engage, and he bugged out and went to and took his family to Texas. By the time he gets to Texas, his wife and his daughter are both dead, and he's half dead trying to drive the car, and he passes out and crashes his car into now I'm forgetting if it was a restaurant or a bar, but there were people in there. Oh, it was a gas station, and he crashes into the gas station. The people inside the gas station, it has a little convenience store. The people inside there see that it crashed. It doesn't go into the gas station. It crashes outside. They go out to check it out and to make sure that the gas pumps are not going to blow up on them. And they rescue him from the car, get him into an ambulance. He dies on the way to the hospital. But everybody who came into contact with him now has the virus, Captain Trips. And so now it's only a matter of days before they die. I think there was one of them that is one of the immune, and he survives. But he had been locked into a jail. He and some other people had been locked into a jail for safety's sake, because they didn't know if they were carrying the virus, and they wanted to be sure and keep them away from people. But the damage has been done. This virus, the EMTs, the sheriffs, they all were exposed, and now they're going out exposing other people, and it very quickly starts spreading through the entire nation. And very quickly is killing people, much like a situation that we are familiar with. Although the real world situation, even though lots of people died from COVID, it wasn't anything like what King is describing in this book. So the real world pandemic that we live through, the vast majority of people have survived it. And most people have gotten COVID and found it to be really no worse than the flu. Some people have gotten it and it was really bad. Other people had things that developed in the long COVID. Other people who had weaknesses to their to their lungs or to their heart, they died from it. But it was nothing like what happens in King's novel. King's novel takes the worst case scenario of the worst possible virus and the worst possible consequences of this virus getting accidentally loose in the United States. And it very nearly kills everyone. But like I said, there are survivors. And they, whatever city they're in, there's not much to keep them there. There's just dead people in the streets everywhere. And the infrastructure is, the power company is shut down, the water company is shut down, gas company is shut down, plenty of food in the supermarkets, and for the small number of people that survive, there's plenty of gasoline at the gas stations, so they can, and there's all kinds of abandoned vehicles that they can just get into, the keys are still in, and they can drive off. Problem is they run into traffic jams from people that were trying to flee, and died in their cars and crashed up on the interstates and such. And so it's very hard driving across. A lot of them solve it by using motorcycles or even bicycles, because then they could, kind of go off on the shoulder and get around things a little easier. In some cases, they ran into tunnels where the cars are piled up inside the tunnel and they have to get out and walk over the tops of the cars. So getting around is not super simple, but there's plenty of vehicles to drive, take your pick. And so people do, and they all start having these dreams. They dream about the dark man, who they can tell from their dreams is hell-bent on destruction of everything. And they also dream about Mother Abigail, an older black woman, over 100 years old, very devout Christian. And she also sees the dark man in her dreams. And she knows that people are going to have to stand up to him. And she knows in particular that people are going to come to her and look to her for guidance. And it's going to be up to her to try and keep them on the righteous side, God's side. There's a lot of religious symbolism in this book. It's never clear if King is saying that it's really God and the devil and the apocalypse that's going on, or if it's just people interpreting, characters in the story interpreting things through Christian religion. It could be simply that people are just interpreting it under the religious convictions that they were brought up with, what they're familiar with, and the fact that there's parallels with what they believe the apocalypse will be like. And so they consider Mother Abigail to be like, the side of good, or second coming of Christ or something, and the dark man, Ronald Flagg, that he is some kind of antichrist, if not the devil himself. But it is clear Mother Abigail is a really good person, and Flagg is a really evil person. So the stage is set for a battle. And the people that go to Mother Abigail, for some reason, believes they all need to go to Boulder, Colorado. And so they do. They all walk to Boulder, Colorado from somewhere in the Midwest. I forget exactly where Mother Abigail was, what state she was in, but she was in the Midwest, kind of my area. I'm in Wisconsin. She wasn't in Wisconsin, but she was in, Minnesota or Illinois or Michigan or Ohio or something like that, Indiana, one of those states. Anyway, they walk from there to Boulder, Colorado, in the mountains. And when they get there, they find a city like every other city, mostly dead people lying around, everything shut down, not anybody alive. But they find things left in pretty good condition, where they can, they go into the power plant and start looking at it, and they realize that some of the forget the name for them, some of the power elements have burned out, but that they can be repaired if they can find copper wire, which they do, plenty of it, and so they repair transformers. They repair these, and they repair telephone poles, and they go around and shut off all the appliances that had still been running, because the first time they tried to switch the power on, it burned something out, because all of a sudden all these appliances that were on when the power went out turn on and put such a huge draw on the system that it burned something out. So then they have to repair it again and get back on. But they do. And they start building a livable city, something where they can actually get by. And they set up a basic government, a committee, and they appoint people to start cleaning things up, moving cars, burying bodies, stuff like that. And start rebuilding life, start rebuilding civilization, and they agree that their society in Boulder is going to be based on the U.S. Constitution. They get everybody together and they all vote that that's what they want. But Flagg is in Las Vegas and has drawn a lot of people to him, and he's got his people busy finding all the weapons at government facilities throughout Nevada, of which there are many. And so he's pulling up cannons and missiles and guns and just everything he needs to create an army. And he has sight, like an eye that he can send out and see what's going on elsewhere. So he has this special power. And that's another thing that's happened, is that aside from the dreams, everybody seems to have some kind of unique powers of the mind. And that's where this book could be interpreted as just science fiction, although, junk science. But you could look at it as the people who survived the virus had mind powers awakened in them that were latent before, and all of a sudden they have these abilities with their minds that us today we don't have. And of course, Flagg and Mother Abigail have the strongest mind powers. So you could interpret this whole book in science fictional terms rather than religious terms, or you could interpret the whole book in religious terms as the apocalypse. Your choice. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you can go either way. I'm going to stop the synopsis there and not spoil the ending. Just understand a whole battle has been set up. Now, what Stephen King says he wanted to do before sitting down to write this book is he wanted to write something like The Lord of the Rings. And if you know that, as you read through The Stand, you'll see certain parallels. Like Flagg with his eye that he can use to go out and see things that are far beyond reasonable sight is just like the Eye of Mordor, going around seeing the ring bearers. So there are certain parallels with The Lord of the Rings to this story, but that's where the similarities end. This is not The Lord of the Rings. This is way different than The Lord of the Rings. It doesn't feel as much like fantasy. It's set. Originally, the book, when it was published in 1979, was it? (1978). This is November 1978 that this book was originally published. And the publisher heavily edited it, made it shorter than what I read. Okay. But later on, Stephen King had them restore it, and he rewrote it because it was then like 1989. He had them restored, and he rewrote things so that he could update it. And so then he moved the date when this is all happening to 1991. And so what you buy now, if you buy a new copy of The Stand, you'll be getting the complete and uncut edition, and it will have been written and published in 1990 originally. Even though your copy may have been published much later, this edition, this text that you'll be getting, which is much, much longer than the first edition, this will be the complete and uncut edition, which is what I read. I have it's the Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition. Very nice, although reading it, you can see I had problems with some of the ink rubbing off, and I was very careful with it and did not, you know, did not damage it in any way, and I still had a lot of the ink coming off of this cover, which I've never experienced with any of the other. I've got a number of Barnes and Noble editions and haven't had that problem with those, but this one I had a problem with a lot of the ink rubbing off, which I don't like. But Stephen King wanted to write an epic of this sort of thing of Lord of the Rings, but more his kind of thing. And his kind of thing was taking these older stories like Dracula, like haunted house stories, like Lord of the Rings, and reworking them to be set in the modern day, in modern times. And so this is set for the time that the book was published. This is contemporary United States. All right, which now, of course, is more than 30 years past. So there are some little references in here that are out of date, but for the most part, the book is entirely readable today. And King did a very brilliant job with this. The book, when it was first released, was a #1 bestseller, and it sold 4.5 million copies. It was a finalist, though it didn't win, mysteriously. It was a finalist for the 1979 World Fantasy Award. Probably should have won. Now, and King wanted to write an epic, and another book that was influential on him was Earth Abides. Everything about this book, I mean, it's Stephen King. He is an excellent writer. His characters are great. His plot is great. The story is great. I love the story. I love the ending. I constantly hear people complaining about Stephen King endings. I've yet to read one. Obviously, there's a lot more to go, but I've yet to read one of his stories that I didn't think the ending was entirely what needed to be for that story. I mean, they're not always happy endings, but the endings always make sense, at least to me. And the ending of this one, well, I'm not going to say if this one was happy or sad. I don't want to spoil it, but I like the ending. I like the whole book, the whole thing. Even the fact that it's so thick and there's so much of it that is very character focused, and I'm more of an idea person. But this is very focused on the characters. The characters are very well painted. He's got 1,200 pages in this edition, or 1,153, something like that. And he uses that to really build these characters and make them come alive. And you care about them, you walk with them, you struggle with them. Did the book have to be as long? No, he could have cut short a lot of the stuff about them walking across country, but I don't think it would have been as good a book. I think there was a lot that went on in those sections that built character and that slowly built tension towards the finale of the book. And that slow build towards the finale really makes it powerful. When it finally comes, it's epic. It is really epic. It's great. And it's, a slow build very much in the way that Lord of the Rings does, that slow build of people traveling through Middle Earth towards the ultimate conclusion of that trilogy. King did a brilliant job of taking his inspiration and running with it. This is not the Lord of the Rings. If you read it, if you really know the Lord of the Rings, you'll see the ways that King was paralleling the Lord of the Rings, but you'll also see that this is nothing like Lord of the Rings. It doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings. It doesn't read like Lord of the Rings. The characters are different. The situations are a lot more contemporary America. And that makes the whole story a lot more familiar to us, which is the cool thing. He makes this big epic fantasy or science fiction story, but he makes it relevant to our lives, especially after COVID. This book is so, you find yourself going, yeah, that's what happened during COVID, and you just find yourself being able to identify it so much more. This is a great novel. This is, I don't think he could have made this novel any better than it is. This is everything that I could want out of a novel like this. And I've read other similar types of novels, like The Purple Cloud, which I feel is another really brilliant novel. That one we gave Top Tail to. And if you've never read The Purple Cloud by M.P. Shiel, definitely you can get it free online as an ebook. Just get it and read it. There's no barrier to reading that book except a little bit of your time. And that one isn't a 1,200 page monster. That one's I forget how long it was. It wasn't very long. It was more of a normal older novel length and easy reading. And so that won't take all that much of your time either. But this book goes way beyond a book like that. As brilliant as The Purple Cloud was, The Shining just takes everything to so much higher of a level. This is apocalyptic fiction done right. I had gone through a lot of years thinking that I would hate The Stand because it's so long, because it's not real science fiction, because there's these religious overtones to it. Because there's so many fantasy elements to it. I thought I would hate this book. For a lot of years, I thought I would absolutely hate reading The Stand. I've read it, and mind is blown. This is the best novel I've read this year. This is an incredible book, and I've read some really, really good novels this year. I've read some that I really didn't like, but I have read some really good novels this year, like House of Leaves I read back in January. And I like this even more than House of Leaves. And that's saying a lot because I really, really, really love House of Leaves. And I read 3 books by Grady Hendrix, loved all 3 of them. 2 of them I called Top Tales. This beats all those. I mean, this is so far the best book I've read all year. And this is what has stalled my Stephen King series out. I started reading this back in July 2025. I'm recording this and I'm going to release it. I'm recording it September 28th, 2025, and I'm going to release it, I think, next week, early October anyway, is when you'll be able to watch this. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to be coming across this next year or something. I started reading this in July of 2025, and I only just finished 5 days ago. That's how long. I'm not a fast reader. And I like reading slower. I feel I get more out of a book. I really enjoyed every minute of this book and really enjoyed going through it. Part of what took me more than 2 months is that I did take a significant break kind of in the middle around page 600. I did stop reading it, and I read some other things, some Homer Eon Flint and stuff like that, and then came back to it knowing that I needed to if I was ever going to finish. And so I did, and I finished it. So I didn't read it straight through. I don't think I could do that with something this big. I think I have to have breaks for the type of reader I am. It's just too big for me to just keep pushing through all the way through something this long. But I did, and I'm very glad I did. I'm glad I read it. This is definitely a top tale. This is definitely one of the best books I've read in my life. This is definitely recommended, whether you like Stephen King or not. I guess if you've tried Stephen King and you just hate his style, you're probably not going to like it, but otherwise, it's just a brilliant story. This is writing done right. So I got to recommend it to everybody. Everybody should just read this book. This should be a required reading for English courses. You know, come on, American literature courses. This is one of the best. And I'm running out of things I can say. I'm running out of adjectives. So, have you read the Stand? Many of you, I'm sure, have. So I expect comments. I expect to hear from you. What are your thoughts on it? Where am I going wrong? Where have I got it right? Tell me. I'm not the alpha and omega of this stuff. You guys know at least as much as I do, if not more. You may know things about the back stage of this book being written that I wasn't able to come across and don't know. I want to hear all those things. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear your whatever knowledge you have about it. Post it in the comments section of the video. Let's make this a conversation, not just me talking to a camera, talking to my iPad. Let's make this a conversation between all of us, and post your comments in the comments section of the video where everybody can enjoy them and possibly learn something from you. And come on back, there's more Stephen King to come. The next work is another novel. I'm going to try and cram that in before the end of October, The Long Walk, which of course has just recently been released as a motion picture. I haven't seen the motion picture yet. I've never seen, I believe it was a TV miniseries of The Stand. I've never watched that. And I'm glad I haven't. I'm glad I read the book and have only experienced the book at this time. But anyway, The Long Walk is out right now, so it's really cool that I'm going to be getting to that while that movie is still on everybody's minds. That hopefully that'll boost my views on the video. That would be nice because we get so small numbers for Telltale. We should be getting a lot more people for the kind of content that we put up here and the kind of things that we say. And the wealth of knowledge that both I and Emily have about all this stuff, even though we're not professors, we should be getting a lot more views on our videos. You know, we're rarely political. We don't put people down. We don't tell you should vote for this person, vote for that person. We aren't just showing you our book hauls. We're talking about the literature. We're talking about the books and what's great about books. So you should be watching our channel. You should be watching all of our videos, or at least many of our videos. I know I put a lot up. You probably can't watch them all, but I'm doing this because I believe in it, because I have a passion for this stuff. And I want to talk to people about this stuff. And more importantly is I want to hear from people about this stuff. So Long Walk is the next Stephen King. Come on back for that video. Leave your comments on this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and come on back for the more Stephen King, more of all kinds of other authors. I'm going through Homer Eon Flint, Austin Hall, Francis Stevens, and Abraham Merritt so that I can get back onto my Weird Tales track, where Emily and I together are doing Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, Philip K. Dick, Robert Heinlein. We've got And He Built a Crooked House coming up later this fall. That's one of my very favorite Heinleins. Come on back and watch all that stuff. It's all great. It's all such exciting literature. And more importantly, go out and find yourself a copy, even if it's just a free electronic copy from Project Gutenberg, or an ebook you get off of Kindle or Apple Books. Get these things and read them. They are exciting. They are awesome. They will really expand your mind and expand your life. And that's what we're about here on Telltale Books. And if you have a little bit of money, look for a decent copy. I was going to talk up how great this is. I've said in the past how much I love these Barnes & Noble books, but sorry, quality issue. Definite quality issue on this copy of The Stand. So, it's fine if you just want a nice copy and aren't so worried about it remaining pristine, but I'm disappointed. I really am disappointed in that one. like I say, the others that I've bought from Barnes and Noble in this line of books have been great. They haven't had any problems whatsoever, and they have a ribbon bookmark sewn in. I love that. This one has the gold painted edge. I love that. Biohazard end paper. I love that. But a little bit of quality issue with at least my copy. I don't know if other people have had that problem. I'd love to hear about it. If this edition of The Stand is just poor quality, or if it's just my copy. The stories I give top tales to, I do so because there's something about them that I feel makes it an important addition to literature, and in this case American literature, since he's an American author. And I mean, The Stand has everything. It's a great story. It's brilliantly written. It was a bestseller. Lots of people love it. Lots of people call it a classic. It's a fun story. It's an engaging story. It's disturbing in parts. It's got everything. And it's famous. It's been filmed. I mean, there's nothing about this that would keep it from being a top tale. Everything about this qualifies it for being a top tale. So top tale it is. And I will shut up now and let you go and get your copy and spend 2 months reading it like I did. I'm sure most people, like Michael Vaughn recently read The Stand or reread it, I forget which, and I think he did it in a couple weeks, which blows my mind. He must have done absolutely nothing else for that period of time to get through it that fast, because there's no way I could ever do that. But great book, highly recommended. And I will shut up, and I will hope that you see me in more of these videos.